I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead as though there were people here, and then I shall pop the video up on YouTube as per usual, and then that way it's not such a loss. But it is saying slow connection at my end, but do let me know if you're here so I can say hi. Otherwise I am going to crack on. Hello Penny, how are you? I don't know if it's just me and you tonight, but I'm going to get on. You don't have to hang around, Penny. You don't feel that you have to hang around, but I'm going to get on. And today I've decided, I was racking my brains. I wasn't too sure what to do today because I didn't want to be... Oh, really? Oh, I'm glad you found me, Penny. I'm not too sure. It's really difficult because Facebook, they just will not change my name. And the only way I can do these lives is if I have 100 likes, 100 followers. I have a page from when I used to craft many, many years ago. A different brand, Chunky Monkey Crafts. As you know, here you are. And it's the only page, because it's over 100, it's the only page that I can go live on. However, Facebook will not change my name. It's not as though they're refusing, it's just technical issues every time. And then yeah, and then you cannot get hold of Facebook for love nor money, which is really frustrating. Oh, Penny, that's so frustrating. I suspect you're not the first one, to be honest with you, that's had problems, so I suspect there's others in the same situation, but I'm really grateful that you persisted. Right, so I'm going to get on. So after racking my brains, like I said, I didn't want to be repetitive and do what I've done previously, although I am getting to that stage where I may have to repeat, not necessarily whole projects, but some of the techniques that I've done previously. So I decided to work with some alcohol inks tonight. Now, I am by no means, I don't even say I'm confident with alcohol inks, let alone on any sort of expert level. Julie, Penny has just said the same thing. I don't know what's happening. I'm getting really quite frustrated with this whole going live and not being visible. I'm so sorry, but I really am grateful for you being here, Julie, so thank you. And anyone else that's here, I'm grateful that you persisted. Yeah, so I am going to go do some basic work with some alcohol inks and just hope that it all comes out as planned. It may not be exactly as I'm looking for in terms of results, but it doesn't have to be perfect, does it? And I do have some standbys that I can show you that I worked on when I was practicing this technique. Right, we've wasted enough time just garbling on, so I shall get to it. So I have picked out 3 colours to work with today. I have got the Glacier, the Cool Perry, and Cloudy Blue. I am going to caveat this, actually. I'm going to come back in and say that last week, so I prefer to work landscape so that you can see more of what I'm doing. Last week I tried to do something a little bit different and work portrait. However, the zoom wouldn't focus when I was holding things up to the camera, so oh, hello, Mum. So I have gone back to what I'm comfortable with, which is, and hopefully you'll get the best out of it, which is the, it's still not zooming, is it? So I may as well have gone landscape. Right, anywho, let's not lose sleep over that. I've also got my alcohol blending solution. I do also have, though, an alternative to that. I did have, but that's gone walkies. Oh, there we go, I've got it back. I do have another one. So this is the official Tim Holtz alcohol blending solution. However, there are alternatives on the market. I'm not sure the percentage of alcohol in this one. I should have found that out prior. However, isopropyl, you get it, alcohol, and the higher the percentage, the better. So this is a 91% alcohol content, and this does the job and is pennies to buy in terms of in comparison to the official. So I'll show you how to work with both. I have found that this blends a little bit better, but we'll see how we get on. So what I'm going to do is a technique with alcohol inks called ink lifting, and I'm going to work with some vellum today. So I'm going to plonk a tile here, because for this I will need a non-porous surface for the alcohol, and the vellum. So I've got a sheet of vellum that I've cut down. This is spare because inevitably I will need it. I've got a sheet that I've cut down prior to coming on, which was approximately 4 by 6 inches, but again that will be trimmed down to size. And I'll need a piece of card as well. So again, I've prepped a piece of card. This is actually some scrap card from where I was working earlier. Hiya, Scott. Look after me, doggy. But there is some markings on there, as you can see, but I like to be frugal, and by the time we've played with this, you shouldn't be able to see those marks. So I'm going to work with both of those. I've got my craft mat here, and with that in mind, I'm going to just gently stick down, first of all, the vellum. Actually, I'll need to ink the vellum up first, wouldn't I? That would be a good start. So yeah, stick your vellum down with some low tack tape, and then just very crudely, first of all, go in with the alcohol ink, the alcohol blending solution. Just give a generous covering. You'll see it starting to curl. So what I should have done, and what I am going to do now, is just apply some tape to the bottom as well, and that will stop it curling as much. So I'm going to put another piece up the top as well here, and excuse me, but I will go in and pop another piece up here. All right, okay, so we've applied some of the alcohol blending solution, and then, as I say, very, very crudely, just go in and add some of your colour. So I've gone in first with the glacier, and then a lighter blue, so this is cloudy blue. And then I wanted a touch of purple, so I've picked out Cool Perry. I have found that you have to be quite generous with the purple, otherwise it doesn't show by the time you've played around. And when I say played around, I'm referring to the, I don't actually know what this is called. We'll call it an air blower. This isn't the official Tim Holtz one or Distress one. This is just, I think this is probably Amazon or eBay. Does the same job. So you're just going to go in and move that colour around until it starts to blend together. Depending on the type of look that you're going for, depends how much you want to move that colour around. I've been quite generous with both the alcohol blending solution and the colour, so the colours will move around quite a lot and blend quite well. But you can see where I was quite generous with the purple and it's already getting lost. So if you find that there's a colour that's getting lost, you can just go in and add a bit more. And if you also then find on doing that it doesn't move around as much, now I'm going to go in and use my unofficial alcohol blending solution. Just go in and add some more of that. And then it's really a case of working to preference. Just applying colour, alcohol, and then moving it all around. So I am going to go in with some more purple because that just breaks up the blue a little bit. Good evening, Maddie, how are you? And then once you're happy, now because of the technique that I'm coming to do with this, it doesn't need to be perfect, and as I say, I'm by no means an expert, so it doesn't need to look a certain type of way. But once you're happy with what you've done, I'm just going to remove the tape. What you'll want to do is just set that aside, oopsie, to dry. It doesn't take that long to dry, but for the purpose of this, I did prepare one earlier, so I'm going to set that aside to dry. And then I was late because I'd forgot to prep this one. So this is one that I prepped earlier, and it's dry. I'm hoping I haven't prepped it too soon, but if it does, as I say, I have got one that I did at the beginning of the day, which should do the job. So I'm going to clean this off. This cleans quite dry on your mat. Quite quick on your mat. And I actually found that the best thing to do, I'm very well, thank you, Maddie, is go back in with your alcohol blending solution and a cloth, oopsie, just to lift all that colour back off again. Otherwise, once it's down, not even water will budge it. So the alcohol blending solution has a multitude of benefits. So I'm just going to wipe that up. It doesn't have to be great. You don't need to see me cleaning all night long. And then I'm going to bring in my pre-prepared piece that I coloured up. So in the same way as I've just done before, now I'm going to stick this piece of card down. What you're best off doing is, as I showed you prior with see now I've took away the acetate that I've just worked with, thrown it aside, and it's curled up. And the best thing I can suggest is leave it stuck down to a piece of card or paper, whatever it is that you're working on. Pop that aside while it's still stuck down, and once it's dry, it will dry flat, as is the case with this one. So I would strongly recommend that you don't do what I've just done there for the best outcome. Right, so then what we need then is, I'll bring back in the card that I referred to earlier. This is just a piece of basic white card. It doesn't have to be your super smooth, it doesn't have to be your expensive posh card, just anything that you can put your colour down onto. There's no blending involved, so we don't need anything special for this. I'm looking for my tape, which is right in front of me. I'm going to stick this back down as well. We only need to stick it down in one area. And then I've got a couple of stencils, and this is where the inking technique is going to come into play. Sorry, the ink lifting technique. If I could find the stencils, that would be wonderful, but I think I may have put them away. I have. Sorry about that. So I'll be working with Daisy background from Waffle Flower, which is really pretty, this one. I've used that a couple of times before, as is this one, and this one is from Hero Arts. I think I've got this one in a sale, possibly, from Seven Hill Crafts. This is the bold floral. If you get these right with stencils, you can knock out a card so quickly. They have some beautiful effects with very minimal effort. So once you've applied your stencils, so once you've applied your stencils, just hold them down in place. So I'm just going to go top and bottom. I will be using removing them to see my progress during the process. It's really pretty. I think I used the Daisy one on one of your birthday cards, actually, and it does really, at this point it's a little bit lackluster at this point, I think, but once it's used, it really is pretty. Okay, so the tool you'll need is your ink applicator, which you would use for ink blending. I have tried this with a felt applicator, but it didn't do the job. It absorbed the ink and then it didn't reproduce anything. So for the process that I'm about to show you, you will need one of your sponge applicators, and then what you'll do, bring in your any non-porous surface. So I'm trying to rearrange things at this point so you can see everything. So if I pop that there, you can see what's going on. I am sorry about the glare from the ring light. It doesn't have to be, as I say, the branded alcohol solution, but you will get through a fair amount of this. So I'm hoping this will work, and that, as I say, this hasn't dried too much, but we'll see how we get on. So I've applied some blending solution to my non-porous. This is just an old tile. I'm just going to pick up some of that blending solution. You can see where I've used this earlier, and then you go in and just apply over your pre-inked piece. And then in theory, what that's doing is, with the alcohol blending solution, it's picking up the colour that you've put down from the areas that are exposed through the stencil. And then you want to pop over to your white card, and through that stencil, you're going to pop it back down. So effectively, or essentially, should I say, what you end up with is a 2-for-1. And so you just continue to repeat the process. Go over your inked up piece, and then just bring that down on your plain white, and just repeat that over and over again. You want to pick up more alcohol ink as you go. You don't want to oversaturate your sponge with the alcohol blending solution, because that then squishes underneath your stencil. It's okay. It won't give you a crispy image, but it still gives a lovely effect. But where you can avoid it, avoid it. And so the fact that we are picking up colour, and we're able to pull it down on this one, suggests that it is doing what it needs to do over here. But I am going to check that prior to moving on, just to ensure that I'm not flogging a dead horse. So I'm just going to pop that down and gently peel this back, and then I might be able to show you some progress. Yeah. So I'm not sure if you can see that from there, so I'm going to lift this up and show you where we are, but this is what we're going for. It's, again, we're having problems with the focus, but I am able to see that you can just about see that there's an imprint there that we've removed. So it's working so far, so I'll carry on. I'm just going to pop that back down, make sure it's in place, and then continue. So just pick up more of the alcohol blending solution, go over as much as you need, pick up your colour and pop it back down. I'm not going to show you the result of this one until the end. We know it's going down, so I'll keep that surprise until the end. But you pretty much, you work with inks, you know what happens when you ink over a stencil, so you get the idea. I will say, the first time I did this, it didn't quite go to plan, and I was pouncing away, picking up ink for a very long time, and it did become quite laborious, and my hands were quite achy. The first time I tried it on Yupo paper, which is standard for alcohol inks. However, it didn't seem to pick up any residual ink, or it didn't seem to absorb what ink was there, as well as using it on the vellum. With the vellum, it is more of a muted colour, but for this technique, it's the far more effective material to use. So I would recommend the vellum for this. But but already see it's starting to ache already. So at this point I'm like, hurry up. But it is worth it, so do persevere, go in with lots of energy, and it will provide, hopefully, a great outcome for you. We are getting there actually quite quick. I think, in theory, the parts that we've worked on here should match the parts that we worked on here. So I'm nearing the bottom. If I find that I get to the bottom of here and still have much area at the bottom here that I haven't quite covered, then we'll just go back in where we've already been and see where we can pick up any that we weren't able to first time round. So I think, whoops, I'm going to need more alcohol blending solution. That's better. Oh, excuse my top flapping around. I can't bear this with, you know, tops with sleeves that they're long but you can roll them up, and they come with one of these. Once you roll them up, after that first year wear, that piece never stays tucked away. It's always flapping around in the wind. Really bugs me. Anyway, as we were. Okay. Getting there. Did some more of that, didn't I? So just nearing the end of it now. And hopefully this has left a good impression. It doesn't have to be perfect though, does it? You know? It will leave some kind of impression, and that's good enough. I've done things in the wrong order there. I got a bit distracted. I went with the alcohol blending solution straight onto my left panel, but that's okay. No harm done. I'm really starting to feel it now. It really does pack a punch. Okay, I think this stencil here, there's room to move around, although you don't necessarily benefit from doing that. You need to push it in, give it as much pressure as you can, and that gives you the best in terms of what it will pick up. This stencil is very delicate, and you can't then do your circular motion here. So actually, in hindsight, I would recommend not using a delicate stencil to for the one where you put the colour back down. Use a more hardy one for that purpose, because the temptation is there to do this, because that's what we do, isn't it, with when we're using distress inks, for example. The temptation is to do the circular motions, and this is such delicate stencil that I have picked it up in places, and I don't know if I can rectify that. So I could have used this one over here, and I could have then gone in with that motion and not done any damage. But don't do as I do, do as I say. Isn't that what they say? Okay, I think I've got the last of what I can out of the colour. Right. Crikey. I need a physio after that, I think. Right, so now we're going to check this one and hope that it's left a good enough impression that we can work with it. This one we know we'll be able to work with. So that's what we're left with for the right hand side. That's where we've lifted the ink. I'm quite satisfied that that does what I wanted it to. It's not perfect, but there's still some pattern there. You can still see some of the pattern from using the alcohol inks. Few variations in colour there. So I'm going to work with what we've got here. Let's see what we've got with this one. I'm just going to pop them out of the way. Oops. And there we have the second one. So you've effectively you've got 2 cards for the price of 1 there, without even trying to, as it were, because you would never otherwise have done anything with this one, but we've absorbed any excess that we could from that one, dulled down the tones, and then pull it onto this one, and then we've got the 2 cards. 2 very different cards as well, because where we've used the 2 different stencils. Right, so let's remove those. Oh, if you want to do it that way, I can work with that. Pop that aside. There we go. Oh, you can see it at different angles, that pattern a bit more. So just very carefully remove the tape, but I will be trimming this down. And obviously where I've used the tape as well, we have obscured some of the area that we've inked there. And then here, the stencil didn't quite cover it anyway, so I'll be trimming that down. So let's measure them up against my card blanks. I've got 2 prepped card blanks. So I know I need the top and the bottom to go on this, and I'm going to be really crude about how I do this. Let me just move, get myself a pencil, but I don't measure anything, it's all done by eye. So I think the width is fine. We've got enough space here, just the right amount of sort of space either side, and I want the ends to match. So I'm going to flip that over. In fact, what I'm going to need to do is trim that first, and then I know exactly what I've got to work with. Put you aside, you little beauty. Right, so trim that. And we'll trim that bit off. And then when I flip it over, I know exactly what I'm working with. In fact, that may not be too far off the size that... Oh, thank you. Yes, I think we'll just trim another small bit off the end here, and then that should be the size that I need. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So we've got a nice even border. I'm not going to bring any black into this. Do you know, I've just thought as I'm showing you all this, I've only pre-prepared 1 card, one finishing, one of the toppers and the sentiment for this. So what I'll do is I'll work with one of these panels, and then I'll show you the 2 of them afterwards when I've finished both of them. So we've got that one, and then that's not what I want, this is what I want. So this is the vellum one, so this is quite in excess of the size that I wanted. So we're going to trim that down as per the previous one. Again, really crudely. I just don't work with measurements. They just don't go in my favour. So I'm just going to mark off with a pencil where I need this one trimmed. So that's the length, approximately. And that's approximation of the width. And then I always lose the markings. I think I can just about see it, so there we go. Hiding from me. So trim that one off there, and then here is the other one. And then bring that down there. Right. So now, it's a great technique, Julie, isn't it? It's quite laborious, I won't lie, but it is great. And actually, from experimenting earlier, I'll actually show you all actually what I've got from experimenting, because none of them are perfect, but I'm able to use all of them in projects. Now it's a bit boring because I use the same colours, but this is the vellum effect that I got from doing this earlier. So actually I think the imprint in this one might be a bit more visible than the one that we're using now. But then this was when I used it in reversal. This was applying the colour down through the daisy stencil. So the stencils were in were serving different purposes with this one. That was onto some Yupo paper. This Yupo is absolutely useless. I thought I'd cut some corners and get some Yupo A4, cheaper than the official branded one. By branded, I mean the Tim Holtz. So this Tim Holtz Yupo paper is so expensive. It just frustrates me. I do find that generally an expensive brand, and I think it's completely unnecessary. So this is what I had from when I first started doing alcohol inks. This is 5x7. I don't think it has a weight on there, but I'll be honest when I say that it is a good weight for working with alcohol inks and then using that as your finished project, your finished piece. However, trying to cut corners, I bought this. This is a Frisk A4. This is 85 GSM and it's pants. So I would suggest the better weight of the Yupo you can get, the better it'll serve you, because this is so flimsy, and I fear that if I was to stick this down onto a piece of card using, or onto a card blank, sorry, using glue, for example, I think it would show through. So I would not recommend that at all. And if anyone has any other cheaper recommendations for me, I'd appreciate it, because I really begrudge having to pay as much as you do for this one. Right, back to work. So yeah, that was that. That was also, that was where I lifted the colour from. So that was again the Yupo paper with the first stencil as we've just done, and that was the colour lift, and that one wasn't a great outcome. I'll come back to that one actually. And then similarly we've got, so all these are essentially going to be cards. They're going to make lovely cards. This I really liked this. This was where I'd used a bit of excess alcohol solution, alcohol ink on the blending mat and the Yupo paper. There was far too much. I didn't want to mop it up, and so I just went in with some plain card, sat that down and picked it up, and that was the outcome. And I really like the technique, beg your pardon, the texture effect that you get from that. You can see some of the different colours coming through there, so I'm looking forward to using that. So yeah, lots of panels ready to go there. Back to what we were doing. I've got a couple of options here. I can lay this straight down. I think this is the one that I'm going to, you know what, no, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to use the one that we made the impression with and not from. Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to stick that down. I'm going to elevate this actually. We're going to have some height on this, so let's elevate this with some foam tape. Don't forget, for this you want your non-stick scissors. Lord knows how many scissors I've ruined using scissors that won't fit for purpose. I normally go in with 3. I think that's a bit stingy, to be honest. I should go in with a few more, but I've got away with it up till now. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the part where you have to watch me take the struggle to get the backing off. Oh, that was a bit too easy, wasn't it? Oh, look at that. There we go, nice and easy this evening. Oh, do you know what I was actually going to do, but I've forgotten. But I was actually going to go around the edges with some blue Distress Oxide. But it's okay, I actually quite like the cleanness of that. So I'm going to stand the card up while I find central position. And that'll do. There we go. And then I have pre-cut out some, as I do, you know I do this in advance. I can't do all the fiddling about on a live, and it's not fun for you. So I've used a bold or a buzzword from Heavy Doodle. I'm so sad these closed down, but by golly, I did get some some great bargains when they did from them. So I've gone with congratulations, and this is the word and the shadow die. And I've already cut these out, as I say, from vellum for the shadow, and then a really nice sparkly card for the word itself. And we're going to pop that, oh, that's so pretty. We're going to pop that in the centre there. So I'm just going to stick those down. This is really fine, this word, so I don't want to go in with too much glue. We don't want it all spilling out the edges. But similarly, we need it to stick everywhere. Otherwise it will get damaged. So just going round, picking out every area where it could potentially lift. There we go. And then make sure we've got the vellum the right way round. So the G is giving this away that that's the right way round. And already we've gone in on a wonk. And then just let that drop. Do you know what I've noticed? When I'm letting this sit, I've lost the dot for the congratulations for the eye. It's fine. I might just add that with a little bit of a silver pen or some glaze. One of my jelly roll pens. I think I'll just go in with this one and just add a little. It's going to be noticeable, but you just add that little dot above the eye. So there's our congratulations. Oh, thanks, Mum. Yeah, not focusing there, is it? Also not sticking, so just going to go back in and make sure that that's all grabbed quite nicely before we place it. And before I stick that down, actually, I think that's where I want that to go. However, I do have another sentiment to finish it, because it wouldn't be Dani Doodles without using one of the Dani Doodles sentiments. I haven't used this one yet, the stamp in mine, so I'm gone for You Did It, and then of course a bit of narky humour in there. So I've You Did It finally. So I'm going to print this, stamp this out, and then decide where we want them all to sit together. So in keeping with the theme here, there's no black. Normally I'd use black and heat emboss in white, but I'm just going to go straight in. I have cut a strip somewhere, that's what I'm rummaging for, sorry. I'm just looking for the strip of white card. There it is, that I'd prepared. So this is You Did It Finally. This is from the Naughty Affirmations Part 2. This is one of the, from the first release of the new brand. So, just gonna, oh, I've got one of my doggy's hairs there keeping me company. As before, just let that drop as it wants to. And then pick it up with your block. If you try too hard to get that straight, you will inevitably, it will go on a wonk. So just let it find itself, let it find its own position. And then we're just going to, again, this usually takes me a couple of attempts, doesn't it, to get it straight. So if it doesn't go right first, that's actually perfect. Oh, this zoom is really, this focus, why won't it focus? What's going on? Well, right, I need to clean that off just before I pop that away. So I've got my my wet cloth. Please don't use baby wipes. They're really not good for the environment, and this cleans actually better than a baby wipe would. And if it helps, baby wipes can actually, some of them, leave fibres on your stamps, and no one wants that. So get yourself a good cloth, microfiber, and in a airproof container, and I'm gonna, there we go. And then that's still, oh, I hate the word, moist. Damp. There we go. It's damp for next time. There we go. Don't need to use that dreadful word. Right, let's pop them aside. I'm going to trim this down. There we go. So, we have our 2 sentiments. Be careful who you give this one to. They may, if they're a little bit sensitive, they may not appreciate it. So we've got your, I think I could actually get away with putting this, the G sits quite nicely to the side of this sentiment, which means I think I can get away with putting them both centrally. So let's go ahead with the larger one first, and then we're almost done. So with acetate, you will know, acetate, this isn't acetate, this is vellum. With vellum, you will know that the glue will show up anywhere that you pull it, it shows up. But the beauty of using the shadow with the word over the top is that if you flip it over and apply the glue behind the main sentiment, the card, it won't show through. So you just need to go ahead and pick out a couple of areas and do just a few small dots of glue behind that sentiment so that they won't be seen. Make sure that they're small enough so that they don't all splodge out. I suppose actually, being that they're smaller, you'll need a few more of them, won't you? So mine are actually going all over the place. I'm a bit shaky. So don't be as messy as I am. There we go. In fact, do a few more there. We don't want it coming off, do we? So, right, I'm going to hold this up again just so that I can get it straight. I do have a very crooked eye. So I want this not quite central in terms of between top and bottom, but we need it central, side, left to right. There we go. So we've hidden all the glue, the yucky glue there. And then we'll just go ahead. We've got the dimension already by sticking this layer down with our foam tape. So we don't want too much dimension. It's already going to cost more in the post anyway now. And so therefore we'll just use glue on this part as well. And then if we butt that right up against that G, we've got that central as well. Yeah, that's about right. And that's it. So that's a really pretty, probably more geared towards a female, unless you've got a more feminine male in your life that would appreciate this. But that's a really pretty background made with alcohol inks. You can't see any of the purple in there, ironically, but we shan't cry. But yeah, that's with your alcohol inks lifted from one stencil through another, and then just finish with a nice sentiment. I really like that. So what I will do is I will repeat that process, probably with a different sentiment, with the vellum that we did. And then I'll pop them up on my Instagram, both of them side by side, so you get the finished result, the finished look for both of them. If you don't already, I actually have not long set up my Dani Doodles YouTube and uploaded previous lives onto there. So if it'd be great if you could pop over and give that a follow as well. That's just Dani, I believe it's Dani_Doodles. But yeah, and then all previous lives will be there. This one will be there maybe today, tomorrow. But Instagram for the finished result of them both. Well, thank you all so much for joining me. As always, I really do appreciate you giving your time to me. I know it's so precious. I know I do sound like a broken record, but I really am so grateful. And I'm hoping that we can increase the amount of viewers that we get week on week. So yeah, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I hope to see you again next week. Same time, same place. 2 p.m. That isn't going to work. 6 p.m. Tuesday on the Dani, the Chunky Monkey Crafts page. Take care, everyone. You are very welcome, Maddie. And likewise, Julie, you are welcome also. Thank you very much for joining. Right, take care, and I'll see you all soon. Night, night. If you're here, please do let me know, because otherwise I shall log off for the evening.